Welcome back to the channel, y'all. If it's your first time here, thanks for pulling up. I'm Datsun, and today I am going to be doing a run through of what my current studio setup is. So let's get right into that.
You feel that sun?
Okay, so first things first, the space itself. It's pretty much 11 feet in length by about 7.5-ish feet wide, you know, give or take. I was pretty limited to the space that I could work with here in the basement. The room isn't very big, as you can tell. Like, I have just enough space to fit my small drum kit and chair in the corner, but that's pretty much it. Like, I'm pushing it. If I have 3 people in here, I'm pushing it. Let's talk about the rack. So the rack I have here, a friend of mine, Zach, built the actual wooden rack itself. I bought this pedal rack on Etsy, and my homie Zach, who built the rack, is also the same guy who built my table. So big shout outs to Zach, because this has been one of the most talked about pieces in my studio and in my videos for as long as I've had it now. So big shout outs to Zach. You can tell here I have 2 Mac Minis in this neat little rack case that holds the Mac Minis. So the way I have it set up right now is I don't have an interface running on my stream computer at all. I literally bypass the stream computer in terms of audio by just sending all of my audio to the main camera, which is then what pushes out all the audio to my stream or to my videos via OBS. So my main interface that I use for all my production and monitoring and everything is the RME UFX. I recently purchased this thing within the last handful of months. I bought it secondhand, so I ended up paying, I think, about $1,500 for it, and that was quite a lot to pay for a used interface. Like, I've never really paid that much for a used piece of gear like this. My God, this thing is a beast. This thing is an absolute beast. So for me, it's been a game changer in terms of routing possibilities and even just the converters and the preamps. You know, I was going from using this Scarlett, and previous to that, I was using a Motu, and there's nothing wrong with either. I still use the Scarlett, actually. It's like what I run my vocal mic through for my streams. I have the Scarlett running in standalone mode. Now, standalone mode basically allows you to use the Scarlett 18i20 as an extension, or kind of like an extension of just like preamps, via ADAT. ADAT is just a digital signal being sent through one cable, and it's sending all of the ins and outs. So that was a very bad explanation, but you get the gist. Right now, I have it plugged in via ADAT, and it's running into the RME, and basically it allowed me to have an extra 8 preamps, 8 XLR inputs, I should say, because I was really limited with just the 4 XLR inputs. I don't have any outboard preamps to expand that with all the line inputs on the back, but having an interface like this that runs standalone allowed me to actually add 8 more inputs, and that's what allows me to always have my 4 drum mics, or say one of the vocal mics like my TLM 103 running through the RME preamps. And then if I need to add more mics in, if I have someone in the studio and I want to throw a mic back there, it's really easy for me to patch it in and get it to work like that. So this has been a game changer for me, having these two working together, which is amazing. And then right here is one of 2 Behringer pieces that I own. One of 2. Yeah, it's a headphone amp. and it's exactly that. It does the job. I just send a stereo output from the RME into the input of this headphone amp, and it allows me to have 8 headphone inputs, which is totally unrealistic for the size of my room, but it's convenient when I got a homie pull up and I just have to patch them into the headphone amp. So that works really, really great. Super convenient. And then here at the bottom, these nice lights that are emitting from this beautiful little piece of gear is the Blackmagic ATEM Mini Pro. So the ATEM Mini Pro is an integral piece of my studio, like an absolute, I could not function without this thing in terms of streaming and creating content. And I say that because it's what all of my cameras plug through. All the HDMIs are sent to the ATEM Mini, and that's how I'm able to do camera changes really easily and add in, you know, even transitions like this. So it's such an important part of my setup, and one day I will have all Blackmagic cameras, but right now the camera you're looking through is a Sony a6400, Sony a6400, Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K. And ideally I would like to get, you know, some of those mini studio cinema cams that they just put out recently, or even just some used Pocket Cinema 4Ks. But I just love the look I get with that camera, and these will do for now. Next to the ATEM Mini, you can kind of see it in here, is just my Stream Deck. You know, it's not in the most convenient spot, but I don't use it too often during my streams, and I can still see the menu here and change through. You know, I also hit one button on my Stream Deck that just says Stream Apps. I've got the one button map to open up all the apps I need to start a stream or shoot a video. So it's super, super convenient. I really love that. I'm definitely someone who's all about streamlining the setup, streamlining the process, and just making it so that I have as little hurdles as possible, because that's the major factor that drove me away from creating more content, was having to set up my cameras all the time and having to figure out the lighting all the time and figure out just so many factors. You run into so many issues having to replug things in, and just having a setup that is super functional has been an absolute game changer. So we covered the rack now. Like I said, it's pretty straightforward the way it's run. So on top of the rack, we've got the LVX by Meris, which I absolutely love this pedal so much. I mean, that is one of my favorite pedals, paired with the beautiful hologram Microcosm, another absolute beast of a pedal. These two have been huge parts of my creative process, and just I strike inspiration with them all the time, you know? I just fly through presets, and the two working together, especially with the Auto Bit by Meris as well up here, which has an amazing filter and bit reduction and some kind of stutter effect stuff that is really neat. And then we got the OPZ, we got the OG OP1, and the Teenage Engineering TX6. The TX6 is a huge part of my routing as well, and that's kind of how I run my second Behringer piece of gear, the Poly D. I run the Poly D into the TX6. I run the Tech 12 turntable into my Tractor, which is outputting into the TX6. My OP1 goes to the TX6. My Rigsmith Dub Siren goes to the TX6, and just if I need to plug in an auxiliary from someone or anything, it's become such a huge addition to the studio. Now that we've covered the whole rack basically, I think it's a good time to talk about my recent addition, and this one's been a massive game changer for me. I mean, like, when I say massive, I mean massive. Like, I recently got a pair of Adam Audio A7Vs, and I went from the Yamaha HS7s, and use what you got, right? And they were great. They served their purpose for many years, but I was so blown away with even my first listen setting these up. I mean, pulling them out of the box, like, talk about a quality speaker. I mean, wow. Absolutely wow. The build quality and plugging them in and turning them on. I have a sub that I turned off because I just wanted to really hear the speakers themselves. And these ribbon tweeters, like it's been such a treat listening to mixes and just refining some of my mixes. I went back to some, and the vocals, oh my gosh, the vocals sound so good. Such punchy mid-range and clear bottom end. I'm really, really impressed. And I think that the bottom end must have a lot to do with the bass ports. I don't know a ton about speaker design, but I will tell you right now that these things bump. I can't believe how hard they bump, and they look beautiful like staring at them. So that's been one of the best upgrades in my studio in years. So major shout out to Adam Audio. I mean, like, what a setup to have now. I'm so grateful and really, really, really excited to just continue making more music on them right now. You know, it's my second week with them, and nothing but joy so far. So let's quickly talk about the lighting in here. So a lot of people do ask me about the lighting, and I gotta do a huge shout out to my homie, Sasha Appler. I'm gonna link his video below in the description. And one day he was like, hey man, why don't I come over and help you fix your lighting situation? I'll bring you a softbox and I'll make a YouTube video out of it. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I learned so much. I felt like I went to lighting school in that one day I spent with him. He taught me so much about what to use and how powerful one lighting source can be. How powerful one lighting source can be. So let's do something. I'm gonna shut these backlights off. Let's turn this off. So immediately the lighting is so different just by shutting my background lights off. So here's the beauty. I was using so many light sources to try and really make it work, you know, like just to have a clear shot and clear image. And when I realized that all you need is literally one light source, that's all this is one light. It's one light. Unbelievable. That blows my mind sometimes. It really is one light source that does all of this, and it feels controlled. So here's what's cool about this setup now. I got these on Cyber Monday, which I love these. I'm a huge fan. I think they're really cool. They give this like really neat symmetry in the space, and the lighting I love in this space because I'm able to control it so much. So let's do something here. The lighting I have right now, I got this softbox up here. You can kind of see it right there. It's incredibly flat. I have these little lights here, Aputure. These are wildly powerful lights. So I got two of them, and as you can see here, like my studio, we had to build the studio around a fire sprinkler system. We had no choice. It's scary, but it's also like, would you rather your gear melted or soaked? It's broken anyway, you know, I'd rather still have my house. So I've got so many clamps everywhere, if you don't already notice, but I put in this iron, I think it's iron, it's like plumbing piping, and it kind of matches the fire sprinkler. It was kind of like trying to match it, but I love it because I'm able to clamp my camera to it if I want to film my drums or just get a different angle of the studio or get an above angle of the gear here. So the amazing thing about these lights, let's get back to the lights. I'm gonna clamp them back. Okay, let's go back to flat lighting. Right now it's just the softbox. And let's turn these Aputure lights on. Okay, we're gonna turn them on. This is at 78%, it says. Look at that. And right now I do have a little bit of bleed. I can tell, like the blue immediately came on my skin. So the beauty is I can kind of combat that by adding a little bit more softbox in, okay? And then just turning them down a tiny bit. And now I have this I think this amazing separation of this like blue, intensely blue background, but a clear in focus front and center. So the thing I love about these lights is like I'm able to control them in any way. If I want white lighting, if I want more like warm lighting, I'm able to just do so much. So let's go like this, color back to this crazy purplish blue, make this one like this. And we get this beautiful gradient effect, this natural gradient of light. And I'm still very much learning about lighting and how much you can control it. But this is what's really neat about it. Now I have these ways of doing combinations of lights in the space. If I do them both blue again, and just turn them down and turn these on, now we get this really neat mix of colors that are coming off of just a few of these light sources. And it's a really clean setup. Like, it's just been so cool and so fun playing with the lighting and being able to do different setups with it. So let's turn this light back on. Love that light. Okay, and I'm gonna turn these ones off. Okay, make that a little, and then that, you know what I mean? I don't know. And then this has color options too. So I'm all about having that control of the lighting and the ability to be able to change it on a dime. Like, the beauty is sometimes I'll be on a live stream on Twitch, for example, and I might just be cooking up in a chill mode, and maybe I get a raid. You know, I've had some really amazing raids. I've been lucky to get like a Fantano raid, or one of those really big streams where they're like, you know, 1,000 people are coming in on the stream, and it's so fun to be able to just immediately on a dime just change the lighting and be like ready to, you know, perform or something. And it changes like this whole space in a way, and the vibe, and how someone sort of receives that vibe as well through the screen. You know, I think it's really cool. If you want to invest in something to create higher quality content, and say all you have is an iPhone, that's another video that, y'all, I'm gonna shout out Sasha Appler one more time, because he also has an incredible video on how to shoot professionally using an iPhone. And it's so much valuable knowledge he drops in that video. So make sure you subscribe to his channel. So worth checking him out. His content is top tier and criminally underviewed, the same way I believe mine is. Okay. And on that note, make sure you like and subscribe, y'all. I never say this in videos, but I think I should start as a reminder in case you don't already. I really appreciate it. So let's quickly talk about the cameras. The main angle you're looking at through right now is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K. I am such a huge fan of this camera. It really changed my perspective on digital cameras as far as being able to achieve a more cinematic and film-like look, especially if you're on a budget. Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K. The fisheye right above is a Sony a6400, as well as this one is a Sony a6400. So what else do we have to talk about here? My mirror. I see you over there. I see you. Let's go over the main centerpiece of the studio. The Maschine SP404 recessed custom desk build setup. This is like one of my prized possessions. You know, I really, really, really love this thing. I get a lot of love for this thing. I also get hate for it. Some people are like, oh, your neck must hurt so bad. Well, guess what? I have a hydraulic desk stand. That was only $110 on Amazon. So it actually was such a cheap investment to make this so much more functional. If I want to stand and work, I can stand and work. Y'all can see the cables that come out the back here. You know, it's such a easy thing to do in your studio, and it makes such a huge difference. So, the desk. This desk, man, is such a beautiful piece of furniture. You know, like, it looks so good in the studio. The homie Zach, again, he came in clutch with this. I just brought my gear over and how I wanted it set up, and he built this thing within a couple weeks, and I couldn't believe it. Like, we left some space here, as you can tell, to be able to pull out the machine easily if I need to change some routing up. And there's like brackets. I don't know how well you can see at the bottom here. There are brackets, that 3 of them, that hold the machine in place. Yeah, we made it as functional as possible, but sometimes, you know, the look of it all too plays a huge factor. So it's super inspiring for me, and obviously I use the machine so much, but these are huge parts of my performance and how I run my streams and perform a lot of the produced beats that I have and everything. So yeah, I made it so that everything kind of can be taken out. You know, I love it. And like I showed you earlier, on the back of the desk here is just where all the cables come out, and it's just a little routed hole so that they come out, and you can kind of see the the width of the desk, you know, like it might be like 5 inches or something. I'm horrible. No, probably like 3.5 inches, I would say. 3.5 inches. And what more can I say about it? Let's look at it on this angle. You know, like you can see that little ding. Ooh, that bugs me. But let's bring it up. Look at that beauty. Wow. What a beautiful, beautiful desk. I love it. It's so sturdy too, and I'm able to really just smash the pads and not be worried about my whole rig shaking around. Yeah, the routing of this setup now is a little bit different. The way I have it set up ever since I got the RME was now I have the machine sending out an alternate output on the RME, so out 7 and 8, and routing back in through input 7/8 on the RME, so that the machine is on its own channel when I want to just work in session mode. And the SP404 Mark II goes directly into the SP404 SX. But here's where it gets a little confusing. When I'm playing live sets on Twitch or on live streams, the beauty of this setup is that I have the ability to run this on the RME interface or the Machine Plus internal interface, which means that my outputs, the actual analog outputs of the machine, are routed into the SP404 Mark II, which is then going to the SX. And what's amazing about that is when I want to perform and have, like, again on a live stream, and have the ability to like cut the machine signal off by just turning external source off, I can do that because it's all routed already. And if I want to work in Ableton or just like track out a beat or track out a session and not run through the 404s and just have a direct path, you know, from the RME, I can also do that. That's been amazing because, again, the routing possibilities are just endless. They're endless. So I've been really loving that and the freedom of being able to do that. Like I said, it can sound confusing because the major thing to realize here is like, this is a multi-use studio, right? Like I use this for making all my music, but also filming all my content and streaming all my content. So what you see here on the screen now is my 2 computer rigs. We got the Mac Minis right here next to me. And then in front of me, we have the top screen is this Mac Mini. The bottom screen is this Mac Mini. This one controls my stream. This one controls all the audio and any production or anything I do like that. So you see on the screen here, I'm running OBS to film and record this whole video, but this is exactly how I run my stream as well. And that's the beauty, is that I'm able to like have this ability to have a streamlined way of filming content, but also streaming when I want to. You know what I mean? Like that's the amazing thing about the setup. So you can see the beautiful Atom Audio A7Vs once again. So you can see here how I've made it so that like everything's kind of in reach for me. You know, I have this microphone as my main sort of streaming content creation mic. The reason I'm not using it today is I just wanted a more freeing way of recording. So as you can see, I'm using this DJI lav mic. So I hope the audio is good. It's probably not going to be as good quality as what this would have been, but I didn't want a mic in my face this whole time. Let's quickly show you that C-stand holding the light with some VESA mounts. We're holding the monitors and the camera is clamped back there as well. I made it so that I was able to just have one stationary place for the main camera, for my monitors, for my light. I didn't want to have like, you know, a ton of stands set up and a ton of like just unnecessary equipment and gear and stuff when I could just minimize. Like I don't need a tripod for the camera. I don't need, you know, individual stand mounts to clip to the table or something for my monitors, like the screens. So it feels really, really locked in. Yeah, I don't know. I think I've covered everything. Listen, y'all, You might be looking at this space and thinking like, oh my God, how much did that all cost? And I get asked that so often. You can cut a lot of costs if you're willing to put the work in yourself. So you don't need all this to make music. You know, you don't need all of it. The beauty is there are companies and apps out there like BandLab and like Koala and like allow you to make music on your phone now, GarageBand. I mean, it's unbelievable. So you can do a lot with very little. So just keep that in mind. As always, don't get overwhelmed with all that you see. The simpler you keep it, the better, because the headaches never stop. Right when you think you have your setup finished and complete, you realize something's not working right. And then you're like, how am I supposed to get to the back of this rack now that all my cables are, you know, like my cable management is pretty good, but it's also like if I got to move something, it gets a little sketchy. You know what I mean? I hope that this run through helped you in some way or gave you some more insight into how I run my studio setup. If you have recommendations or thoughts or tips that I or someone else in the comment section might find useful, please don't be afraid to write it in the comments. Okay, y'all, I think that's a wrap for this video. Make sure you go check out my other content. I have so many videos on my beat making process. Like I said, I have a course. The link is in the description along with all my music links. It means a lot. If you dig what I do, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the video with a like. Share it with a friend who also might find it useful. Have a great day, y'all. Peace out. See you soon. Lighting, man, is so cool.